Well, hey there, changemakers. Welcome to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast. I'm your host, Amy Van Meel, and I'm here to inspire and teach changemakers like you, entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, and people who are doing big things in the world, some tips, tricks, things about business, and we're doing some personal growth on the way. With that, let's dive into today's topic. Well, hey there, changemakers. Welcome to today's podcast episode. I trust you're having a phenomenal day, whatever it is that you're doing. I'm really stoked that you're here joining me today and that you are ready and set to do some learning because I got some good stuff for you today. So today's topic is all about your number one marketing tool, and we're going to get right into it because today's episode is packed full of fantastic, incredible, actionable tips, which is what I'm all about. You should know that by now. This might surprise you a little bit when we're in business or we're starting a business or, heck, whatever it is you're doing, even in your job, we all understand the power of marketing in the sense of marketing gets the word out about your product or your service. It's what we see as commercials or advertisements or Instagram, Facebook posts. We think of marketing as being all those things, these outside of ourselves things that have specific strategies and tools and methods of communicating the messages out to the world. But I see so many people do this, they are forgetting about their number one marketing tool. And if you haven't guessed it yet, this is what it is. You are your number one marketing tool. If you're like, Amy, that doesn't make any sense, here's what I mean. So if you recall a few years ago, and I'm going to get her name wrong, but it's Bonnie something. She was with the Hudson's Bay. Do you recall a few years ago that all of a sudden she would do every Saturday or every couple of days every week, she would do a radio ad spot, and it was her. She would be like, hey, it's Bonnie so-and-so from Hudson's Bay, and here's this week's special. So I heard a lot after she started doing that, the sales for Hudson's Bay went like crazy. They did phenomenal with that marketing tactic. Now here's the deal. She got out in front of everybody and she became the brand. Now you might be thinking, okay, Amy, but I'm not as big as, HBC. Like, what does that look like for me? I'm glad you asked, because here's the thing. If you're operating in a small business, if it's just you right now, hands up to the solopreneurs in the audience, because Lord knows I'm one. I totally feel you. You are the brand. Now, I know you're probably thinking, okay, everybody talks about brand. What is that? To be totally honest, from what I can gather, brand is simply the recognizable essence of who and what your business is. So it can vary across all markets. And when people say brand, we think logo or we think colors. You often hear about having your brand messaging the same, meaning that your scripts, your fonts, the colors that you're using are the same. But brand is really the essence of your business. So if we think about Coca-Cola, we don't think about the brand of Coca-Cola as really active people who are out running in the morning or who are, eating salads for lunch. We would associate that idea of a brand with something like Nike. We would associate a brand identity with Coca-Cola as getting together with friends, having, a drink around the campfire, or spending some time at the beach, or it's a really hot day and you're cooling down, refreshing, right? So it's sort of that essence of what the company does, what they're about. And I'm sure that brand specialists out there might be like, Amy, but it's more than that. But the truth is, for most of us, that's kind of how we understand brand. So if you're feeling a little bit like, I don't know what a brand is, there you go. That's what it is. So when I say that you are your number one marketing tool, especially in a solopreneur business or any kind of small business, look, guys, you're the whole reason that clients come to you. So there are lots of interior designers in the city that I live, tons. And there's going to be new ones popping up all the time. There's going to be other ones that decide to leave the interior design business for something else, or they move away, what have you. And each of us has something unique to bring to the table. At the end of the day, all of us do the same thing. We all do interior design. That element doesn't change, but it's who we are, how we do it, what we individually bring to the table that sets us apart. So that becomes our brand. So when you're thinking about your company, whatever it is that you're selling, so whether you're doing service-based businesses like interior design or massage or coaching or plumbing or, whatever that service-based business is, you are the brand, you are the face, you are the heart, soul, and essence of your company, which means that people are either going to hire or not hire you based on how they feel about you. And I know that sounds a bit harsh, but that's really what it is. I don't want to work with just anybody. When I work with clients, I know ahead of time, usually from having an initial conversation, whether or not it's going to work with this client or not. What's the easiest tip for me is, can you bring your rates down? Can I get a less costly rate? As soon as that question comes up, I know that client is not for me because they don't see the value in what I bring. And to that same end, now it doesn't happen very often, but on occasion, I've had clients, people who've been referred to me that for whatever reason, they just don't click with what I'm about. They want something who's bigger or flashier or, whatever. And so that's part of the brand. That's, part of the marketing of my business. So when I'm on any kind of social media accounts, or if I go to any networking events, or I'm meeting anybody really anywhere, I am very cognizant of the fact that I am my number one most powerful marketing tool. And I want you to keep that in mind because a lot of people don't think about it this way. How many of you have seen, whether it's a contractor, not to knock on trades here, but trades are often, bad for this, where they'll show up, their clothes are dirty, they smell kind of funky because they just came from a job site. I get it, you're working, but if that's the first impression you're making on somebody, that makes a difference, right? If, on the other hand, if they showed up, they look professional, they have, clean clothes on, even if it's still jeans and a polo shirt or whatever, but they look like they understand that first impressions matter, your takeaway on that person is different. Does that make sense? So I want you to remember, you have one chance only to make a first impression. That might sound really obvious, but that's what it is. If you make the wrong first impression, let's say you're having an off day, it is really hard to come back from that because as humans, we need to categorize things. Our brains like to have things in categories. They like to have things, okay, this fits in this box. That's how our brains like to make sense of things. So whatever that initial impression is, and it can come from literally seeing someone across the room. I know I'm not the only person who's seen someone across the room and either thought, oh, I really want to go talk to that person, or I don't want to talk to that person at all. And if I see them coming my way, I'm making a beeline for the bathroom, right? Because we've looked at that person and, wrong or not, we've judged them based on how they have presented themselves. So if they're across the room and they look totally unapproachable, or they look, at the risk of, being a little bit vulgar here, bitchy, then we don't want to talk to them. Most of the time we're just I'm not. I'm I don't want anything to do with that person. I know that might sound shallow, but I want to talk with people who are not about, all of the highfalutin things and the fanciness and the I'm better than you because. I have no time for those kinds of people. They don't jive with my values or who I am. And it would make sense that they won't jive with what I'm about either, because I'm about being real. I'm about being just, we're human beings. We're all here doing the same thing. Let's just be human beings about it, right? So think about that when you go out. Now, I want you to think about this. In your business, you will have an ideal client. And we talked about this a few podcast episodes ago. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I'll link to it in the show notes. The idea that you need to figure out who your ideal client is going to be. The podcast episode was called Hitting Bullseyes, Not Catching Orcas. You might be like, what does that have to do with ideal clients? You got to have a listen. So anyway, when you figure out who your ideal client is, now I want you to think about how you would like to be perceived by that client and how you want your customers to feel. So let me bring it back to interior design because it's such a tactile and visual way for me to explain this concept. So my ideal client, in very broad terms, are homeowners who are wanting to make changes to their home to make it more comfortable, lovable, livable for them. I am not about coming in and telling them, we're going to take everything out. We need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. Everything here must go. That's not me at all. And when I work with my clients, it's very much a process of back and forth. I ask a ton of questions when I'm working with them because I want to make sure that the project that we're pulling together is uniquely for them. So I have a clear idea of who it is that I want to serve. So then I need to think about, how do I want to be perceived? Now, you've all seen interior designers I can guarantee you, every single one of you listening to this podcast has an idea in mind of what an interior designer should look like, right? My guess is they're probably very well put together, hair done, makeup done, outfit totally like top to bottom on point. Shoes, clothing, accessories, right? That's what we tend to think of when we think of interior designers. Here's the thing. Because I have a more, I'll call it an organic process with my clients, and part of that process depends on the client feeling comfortable with me. If I show up looking, top level where I have like the most expensive bag and the most expensive dress and, everything else, then I set my client on a different foot as opposed to if I show up still looking good. I mean, it's not about showing up looking shabby here, but make how I look a bit more approachable. So that could look like something as simple as, if I'm going to wear a dress, then I might wear a more casual shoe, or I might keep my accessories a little bit less glitzy. If I am wearing jeans, and I love wearing jeans when I meet with clients because, we're up and down, we're bending over, whatever, then I'll wear a nice top, and I'll probably wear like a nice round of accessories with it, whether it's a necklace or rings or whatever it is. But the point is, I want to look professional, but approachable, right? Because I want to set my clients at ease. That is what is going to get us the best results. So when you think about your ideal client, think about how you'd like to be perceived by them. If you want to be perceived as someone who just doesn't give a rat's ass about how you look, then go on with your bad self and show up all shabby. But here's the thing. How many people do you know who want to buy services or products from people who don't look like they have it together? Not many, right? If you took, let's say there's the homeless guy on the street corner, and he walked up to your house to sell you plumbing services, versus the guy who, clean jeans, clean polo shirt, shows up in a nice vehicle, doesn't have to be fancy, but just, nicely washed or well taken care of. I'm willing to bet that even if the two of them had the exact same experience, the exact same personality, and the exact same offering for you, you would go with the one who is visually more appealing. I know that sounds shallow, but look, guys, that's how we are. That's how we operate. We're humans. It's what we do. So I want you to think about that. Now, that, like I said, that does not mean that you need to be going out buying all new wardrobes, getting all dolled up for whatever. You just need to think about how you want to be perceived by the client, right? And it will vary depending on your industry. So I love this little thought that the clothes we wear can inspire, intimidate, set at ease, or create boundaries. It's as simple as that, guys. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but that's really what it comes down to. So here's what I want you to think about when it comes to your number one marketing tool, which is you, in the event of actually meeting people and with the intention of building your business. Now, I made it super simple for you. I want you to think about making it SMART. And this is not the same as SMART goals, if you've heard about those, but it is the same word. So SMART. First of all, smile. I know that sounds so simple, but seriously, just smile, guys. I've seen too often at networking events or at parties or whatever that, it happens, I'll say this, it happens especially with people who aren't confident. If they aren't feeling confident in themselves, which I get, I understand that, then we end up going into, what we often have is that resting bitch face. I know that sounds terrible, but that's the truth. When we are freaking out on the inside, we need to just tell our face to calm the F out and be like, let's just smile. Because a smile is way more approachable. I mean, I don't have to tell you that when someone smiles at you across the room, minus like the creepy guy that's like in the coffee shop, it usually sets you at ease, right? You walk by someone on the sidewalk, you smile at them, boom, both of you are at ease. So first of all, smile. Just be approachable, guys. Second of all, M, make the first move. This is so important when it comes to any kind of event or social gathering where you don't know a lot of people. No wallflowers here, guys. I understand that we are not all outgoing people, that a lot of us are shy, a lot of us are introverts. My hand is up. I know you're like, Amy, that doesn't make any sense. But the truth is, when I go to an event, especially a networking event where there's a good chance I won't know anybody, I need to do some serious mental bolstering because that is like one of the most exhausting arenas for me to be in. Even if I come across here in the podcast as friendly and able to talk with anybody, that is true, but it's true because I've worked on it. When I go to any kind of event, I have to physically pull on my energy sources to say, okay, let's go. That person over there looks like they could be interesting. Let's go have a conversation with them. I'll make one quick little tip here. When you're making the first move, if you're at any kind of event, I have found the easiest way to make a move and join a conversation is when there is two people having a conversation. If there is three, I don't know why I find it really interesting, but if there's three people having a conversation and you join in, the group will fracture. That's not to say that you shouldn't ever go join a conversation of three, but you will find that if there's three people talking and you join in, all of a sudden that four splits off into two separate groups of two. It happens almost every time. It's kind of crazy. I need to know the psychology behind it, but that's how it is. So if you're uncertain, then join a group of two. And when I talk about making the first move, figure out some easy, conversation starter to get yourself in. And understand that you're not going to hit a home run on every swing. I was at a networking event some time ago now, and there was two women talking, and one of them had a Kate Spade handbag. Now, I'm a huge fan of Kate Spade. I love the whole design line. It just is totally my jam. And there had been a brand new Kate Spade outlet store that had just opened in our city. And so, people were excited about it. I was excited about it. So I went over to them and I just said, I just got to say, I really love your handbag. It's beautiful. And, she said, thank you so much. I said, did you know that there is a new Kate Spade outlet store that just opened up? That's fairly new, and I don't know if you're aware of it. And I got shut down hard, guys. I didn't get oh, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Where is it? No, I got one of these. Well, it's an outlet store, so it's probably not very good quality, and I don't want to go there. Shut down hard. I'm not kidding. I was like, okay, well, how do I, move around this conversation? Not to be surprised, that conversation ended fairly shortly after that, because that right there told me that we already don't have much in common. So sometimes you're gonna make the first move, you're gonna swing, it's gonna be a hard miss, you gotta be okay with it. When you are out there meeting people, your intention is to market your business. You are your marketing tool, right? Now, here's the interesting thing. Let's look at from the other side. Let's say that Kate Spade person had a phenomenal business, a service that would have made a world of difference for my business or for my personal life, whatever her service was, and that, we could have done thousands of dollars of business together. But in that comment, she shut it down. Like immediately, that relationship will never happen. And I know you might be thinking never say never, but I promise you, someone comes at me like that, someone just shuts you down when you're trying to just get to know people. I'm not interested in working with you because that tells me a lot about who you are. So think about it from that end as well, that when you shut someone down hard, or if someone shuts you down hard, then it's a reflection on them, guys. It's not a reflection on you. It's always about where they're coming from. It has very little to do with you other than you happen to be on the receiving end of it. That's it. But make like Teflon, let it slide right off you and move on. Because obviously they are either not interested or too afraid of growing their business to actually converse and make a human connection. All right? So just let it slide off you. So you've smiled, you're making the first move, super proud of you at this point. The next one is active participation. Here's what I mean. First of all, heads up, if someone asks you a question and you ramble on for 10 minutes, I want you to pay extra close attention because here's the thing. A conversation is a two-way thing. It is not one person asks a question and you just, fire hose them with, so I started when I was 13 and I was really excited about this. And then I met this guy and then this happened. And so then I started studying this and and then 15 minutes later, that poor person who asked you a question is going, how the bleep do I get out of this conversation? Have an active conversation, which means if someone asks you a question, answer it truthfully and answer it, with some context or with some energy, but do not go on for 10 or 20 minutes. That's not okay. On the other hand, when they ask you a question, you give them the answer, ask a question back. Right? All of us love to talk about what we do or what we're excited about or what have you. So be good at having an active participation in the conversation. And if there's three of you, like I said, conversations seem to work best in threes. I don't understand why, but that's how it is. And you're not the one talking, then listen, pay attention. Because watch for things that you can ask questions about. And look, guys, this is what I've learned. So most people, I know this is a blanket statement, but most people don't know how to have good conversations. I know that's crazy. I should probably teach a course just on that alone. But here's what we tend to do. So we either snowball them and we just give them everything we got as soon as someone asks a question, or we stop talking altogether because we're like, well, they're answering. Okay, so let me ask you, when you get together with your friends, is it always one person talking and everybody else is just sitting there quiet? Or is it an exchange back and forth? It's the same thing when you're out there marketing your business and you're meeting new people. It's an exchange, guys. So be active in that exchange. Ask questions. Find out more about them. And it doesn't have to be all business all the time. So I love to know, I know this, I've had people say you shouldn't be asking, what do you do? Because it can set the conversation off on, I'm air quoting here, the wrong foot. But when I ask, what do you do? I'm asking it from a place of, okay, you spend the bulk of your time doing whatever this is, which means that you are interested in it. So tell me what it is because I want to know why you're interested in it. I've had fascinating conversations with people about industries that I'll be honest, I don't care a flip about, but I've learned some amazing things. And it's always very cool to watch someone light up about the work that they do. Even if it's work that makes you want to flip your eyelids inside out and pull your eyeballs out because you're just like, wow, that sounds incredibly boring. But for that person, it's exciting. So find out, what made you get into there? What do you like about it? What's the challenge that you find in there? Where do you see it going from here? Or how do you want to grow? Ask questions about it. Be active in that conversation. Then the R in SMART is relationship. This one is, I could get in a soapbox, so I'm going to keep myself from like pulling my little soapbox stepping stool out on my end here. But when you are out meeting people, I want you to remember, repeat this to yourself, you have to, relationship first. Relationship first. It is always about relationship first. Now, I think our next podcast episode is about business card etiquette, and I have a whole bunch of stuff I want to talk to you about there. But I want to make this point real quick right here, right now. If you are talking with someone, they have not asked you for your business card, you have not made a connection, you have no intention of ever following up with them, your only goal is to either get their card to add them to your mailing list, first of all, don't, or that you just want to give out as many cards as you can, stop right now. You are there to make relationships with people. You might be thinking, Amy, how do I build a business from relationship? You build a business quite successfully from making a relationship, because nobody wants to be seen as, just fodder for the thing. It drives me crazy. I'm still learning how to do this, and we'll talk about this in the next episode when it comes to business cards. But if someone this has happened, no word of a lie, guys. I'm at a networking event or I'm at a party or whatever, and someone walks across the room, walks up to me and says, hey, my name is so-and-so. I'd love to have your business card. Like, they don't know who I am. They don't know what I'm about. What are they going to do with my business card? Or, hey, my name is so-and-so. I think you could really benefit from my services. Here's my card. They don't know anything about me. I'm like, okay, great. Thanks for the card. You know where that ends up? In the recycling bin. So focus on relationship first. Think about even if you can't do business together, if you're in totally separate industries or there's just no overlap, no chance for you guys to actually do business together, can you help each other out in some way? Maybe the person that you're talking to needs some financial advice or coaching or what have you. And in your conversation, it came up of like, man, I just wish that I could find a really fantastic coach because I'm really struggling with these things. And you know a fantastic coach, that's when you say, look, I have this really phenomenal coach that I think, could be a great benefit for you. If you're interested, I can connect the two of you. Would you mind giving me your business card? And then I'll send you an email in the next day or two, right? You're always focusing on relationship. So you want to, like I said, relationship first. Keep that in mind when you're out networking. If you haven't built any relationship, if there is zero reason for you to keep in contact, do not swap business cards. Period. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of time. There's no reason for it. There's nothing wrong with having a pleasant conversation with someone, spending 5 or 10 minutes talking with them, and not having any reason to connect with them further. There's nothing wrong with that. Stop looking at everything as like a way to make money or a way to build your business. Look at it as relationship first. And the cool thing is, when you do it that way, you will find that it will come back tenfold and people will be happy to see you. There's one networking event that I attend religiously. I love it. It only happens every couple of months. It's fantastic. And there are people that I see in the group every time that we've never done business together, and we probably won't ever do business together, but we always have a great conversation. We always connect for even a couple minutes, find out how the other is doing, find out what's happening. Even if that's the sole contact that we have, the whole year through is just those few moments at the event, because our focus is not on selling each other something or making the other person feel like, wow, well, that was a waste of my time. We're just there to build relationships. So remember, relationship first. Which brings us to the T in our S.M.A.R.T acronym, which is timely follow-up. I know this sounds like so simple, and yet so many people don't do this. And my hands up, I've been guilty of it in the past. If you meet someone, especially someone new, and you've said, I'm going to connect you with so-and-so, or I'd love to get together for coffee, I'll email you in a week, then you need to actually follow through. So what I like to do, and I'm not going to get into this too much, but when I have time booked out to, whether it's going to an event or heck, if it's a party, like it could be a party at a friend's house, you never know, right? when you're going out somewhere and you know there's a good chance you're going to meet someone new, the very next day, book a little bit of time in your calendar to send the email, to send a follow-up text, to do the phone call if you were going to call each other about whatever it was, but make a note of it in your calendar, A, so you don't forget, and B, so you actually make time to do it. I know it sounds so simple, but so many people fall down on this, and I have too often where I've seen someone come back and say, hey, I met you, X number of years ago, whatever, and I always meant to follow up, but I just didn't. I mean, it's fine. I'm not going to shut that person down, but it's just so much better when you follow up with them immediately, especially if you said, I'm going to introduce you to whoever it was, right? If for whatever reason you were going to make an introduction and you checked in with your friend or the person you were going to refer and they're not interested in the introduction, then just send a quick email or a quick note to the person who you met that you were going to introduce and just say, look, I checked in with them. I'm really sorry, but they're not taking any new clients or they've shifted their focus or something. Just let them know. Let them know that you did actually make a point and you were wanting to make that connection for them, but that for reasons that are outside of your control, that's not possible right now. It's a huge mark of respect, guys. You just want to keep that in mind, all right? So, making it smart. Remember, your number one marketing tool is you. So be smart about it. Smile. Make the first move. Have active participation in the conversation. Focus on relationship first. And timely follow-up. If you focus on those 5 things and you think about your clients, think about how you'd like to be perceived by your clients, how you'd like to make them feel, you will nail your number one marketing tool out of the park every friggin' time. It is so important that we remember that as solopreneurs, as small business owners, we are the brand. It is not about all the pretty pictures. It's not about, having the best product. It's about who you are and how potential clients can relate to or build relationship with you. That's what it's about. That's why if you're seeing social media accounts that have tons of pictures of the business owner themselves, and you might be thinking, wow, they're really full up on themselves. No, they are the brand of their business and they are focusing on building relationship. Let me ask you, how many social media accounts do you go to where there's pictures of themselves and all they're ever talking about is how great they are and how great their kids are and how, they had this amazing vacation and blah, 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 and there's nothing in it for you. It's just them bragging on themselves. How likely are you to want to follow that conversation and actually, potentially work with that person? My guess is not very likely. But it is good to say, look, so in the case of myself, my name's Amy. I am a huge fan of Subarus. I love my Subaru WRX. I am on the ski hill every freaking weekend in the wintertime. I love my guy. He is the sun and the moon and the stars to me. I like to eat cookies, random little things. And then I always, you gotta bring it back to who's reading it, who's looking at it, who's interacting with it. So you might be like, here's 5 weird things about me. I'd love to know some crazy things about you. You always want to bring it back from yourself to your client, which is why I say you're that marketing tool. You are the bridge between the services you offer and the clients that you're bringing in. So if you think about it that way, I think that'll make a huge difference in how you come across to potential clients. It is such a powerful business building tool, guys. And like I said, think about how you want to be perceived. I mean, I try to keep it pretty clean in the podcast, and definitely the first couple times that I meet somebody, I will be very careful of my words. But clients who've known me for years, friends who've known me, heck, my guy knows this about me, I can have a mouth like a sailor some days. And I try to get a read on the person that I'm talking to, because for some people that doesn't faze them at all. And others are just like, oh my goodness, a lady doesn't talk like that. Whereas I say, screw that. This lady can talk however she wants to. But you want to think about that too, right? Like it's the words you speak. It's the way you speak. It's the way that you present yourself. one final little super quick tip when you're thinking about you as the marketing tool. Stand up straight. I know this sounds silly. It sounds like you're probably thinking like, is this my grandmother or my mother coming through right now? No, just stand up straight. Here's why. First of all, you immediately appear more confident, and not confident in the sense of like that guy that just hits on every girl at the bar, like not that kind of confident, just confident, sure of yourself, comfortable in who you are. And the second thing it does is it makes you feel that way. It's outstanding. It's such a simple little shift, but just, straighten up, bring your shoulders down, boom. Already you're going to feel more at ease, and you've just created some assurance for the person that you're talking to. It's amazing how something that is a totally nonverbal, barely visible cue will make such an impact on conversations, relationships, any interactions that you're having. Okay? So here's what I did for you guys. I always want to make it super simple, actionable, put things together so that you can go like, what was it that she said again? So I've created a very simple download for you, reminding you of your number one marketing tool and the hits that we talked about in this episode. To grab that download, go to daretobegin.net/SMART. That you're going to get the download where we talk about the 5 steps of making it smart. I'll give you a couple extra tips and pointers that I didn't cover in the podcast because I like to reward those of you who are like, yeah, Amy, I want a little bit extra. So you're going to find that in the download as well. So just go ahead, grab your download. Again, it's daretobegin.net/SMART. I will link to it in the show notes, and grab that download. I hope you'll find it super useful. And that's what I have for you guys today. So I trust this episode has shed some light on a few things for you. I am trusting you guys. I'm like, pinky swear with me here, guys. Start taking action on the stuff that we talked about. Your business deserves the best of you. So show up. Remember, you are your number one marketing tool. And the beauty of you being the number one tool, it doesn't cost you very much, which is glorious when you're starting a business. Now, if you had a fantastic time with me in the podcast, then I invite you to leave a review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it if you would give me, 5 stars, give me 4 stars, give me 1 star. Be honest with me, guys. Tell me what you think. But leave a review on iTunes and let me know what you love. If you have any thoughts, questions, things that you want me to cover in future episodes, then go ahead and leave them there as well. Like I said, grab your download, daretobegin.net/SMART. And I am so looking forward to seeing you on next week's podcast episode. Talk to you soon.